It's another Thursday. Welcome to the Fifth Mascot, only on WCPO.com. Along with PG O'Keefe, I'm Ken Brew. Welcome in. We've had a lot to do, a lot to talk about this week. There's been a lot going on. People are wondering why we haven't started this webcast before we have, and why is that? Because you've been hurt.
Yes.
You pulled a groin muscle.
Injuries, much like many of the Cincinnati Reds. We too, here on WCPO.com, suffer from ailments. I pulled a groin.
You did. Well,
getting up into this chair.
Yeah.
And it led to some piling up injuries afterward.
You know, when you have an injury like that, it leads to other things too. So you got to be careful that you don't want to just localize it there.
I can't do lunges anymore. It's tough.
All right, we got a lot to get to today. Let's start with this big dugout meeting that Brian Price had with his team Wednesday, as I guess in some way, shape, or form, trying to snap the team to the attention in Washington. It worked for a day. I think team meetings are just dumb. What are you going to tell a star player that says he's going to go to Jay Bruce or he's going to go to Brandon Phillips and say, you know, you got to concentrate more? Guy's doing that at this point in the season. He's got trouble.
But that's his role. And Brian Price came into this season touting accountability. And after setting up the team the way he did in the spring and trying to lead in that accountable manner, it just wasn't enough. And so he had to get in everybody's face at the same time.
These are athletes. They're million-dollar ball players.
But they're human. And regardless of whether they're paid millions of dollars, they still need a swift kick in the butt and a come-to-Jesus moment to make sure that they're doing their job as best as they can. Now, it did show results, too. They came out with that win, and it was that pinnacle moment there that very well could be telling for the rest of the season.
They won a game. Come on, they won a game.
In this season, every game that goes in that W column counts.
Well, you're right about that, because I'll tell you what. Do you recall, you're probably not old enough to remember this, but in 1993, Tony Perez was 20-24 as Reds manager, and he got the hook.
Now, doesn't that sound familiar?
Brian Price's team is 20-24 before Wednesday.
Before Wednesday, and with that win, he tacks on. So, again, you got to look at it from a different leadership, right?
He's not working for an idiot in Jim Bowden.
No.
He's working for a guy that seemingly has a little smarts.
Walt Jocketty knows what he's doing, and he's committed to Brian Price, and more than likely long term with the way that he dealt with Dusty over the years. And maybe there'll be a little bit of a swift push to get him more in gear with the rest of the team to make sure we don't have another Dusty situation.
I don't know about that.
But you got to think that he knew in the back of his mind that there was some consequences if they didn't come out of that road trip into the end of May now without some results.
Do you think I think Bob Castellini called the guy. I think Castellini got on the phone to Jocketty, and Jocketty says, you better do something right now. Either that or Castellini just exploded.
When I was at Phil or Bob?
Oh, no, it would be Bob. Phil doesn't explode.
Okay,
the only time Phil explodes is when Bob lights him up. Then he explodes.
Fair enough. Well, I still, we'll see for the rest of the season. There's our cue. Speaking of every W counting,
yes.
There has been this just significant struggle this season, and it's been a common theme over the last couple of years. Yes, it was. I think that was a legitimate molded with mud baseball.
Wow.
Rawlings, in fact. I saw the seams like Ted Williams coming in. Didn't reflect the catch. There's been struggling in the W column because of their struggles to score. They haven't gotten the big hits when they've needed them, whether it's been in the 7th inning, the 9th inning, or the 2nd inning. When there are runners on 2nd and 3rd with one out, why is it that we can't get both of those guys or one of those guys in?
Do you know how many years I've been in this town, in this incarnation?
You don't want to reveal that to the audience.
Some would say too long. 15 years, okay? Every one of those 15 years, they've had the same problem. They can't get guys in on base. This team traditionally has had no leadoff hitter and no cleanup hitter, with the exception of 2010. You tell me one team that wins a championship that strands as many guys. What do they strand on Wednesday? 70?
Maybe. Divide that by 7.
It was an entire nursing
10.
home they stranded on.
Yes, you're right. It was definitely a whole other roster out there. And you got to look at it from perspective. We're almost 50 games in, which, beginning of the season, they always say, oh, there's 161 more. Oh, there's 160 more. And you know what? There's still 110 more games or so left to go. The numbers are coming back up. Brandon Phillips is playing better. Billy Hamilton's squaring off. You got to think that as the season progresses and this team gets their identity, and kind of pegging back off of what Price said in the dugout the other night, there's hope.
You got to help me here, because I don't see what you're seeing. What color are those glasses? They look yellow to me.
They always say at the end of the year on the back of the baseball card, I'm stealing this from you, it's going to say 280 for the year. So you got to think if we're on the downside now, and we're going to get up to those averages. It's a game of numbers. It's only a matter of time before we start consistently hitting.
I hate averages because a guy could hit 240 through the middle of August and nuke his team's chances, and all of a sudden get hot in September against a bunch of pitchers that got called up from AAA, and all of a sudden he hit 280. Everybody said he had a great year. That's the folly of average.
And the one thing we're missing here is Jay Bruce. And you got to think that his hottest month every year is May. And that's when he propels this team to be in a very competitive position. Speaking of which,
yes,
they're not that far out. The Brewers will come down to earth.
Well, they already are, yeah.
Exactly. And the Cardinals are right now playing mediocre at best with the roster that they have.
God hates the Cardinals.
And that's a fact.
They do.
I read that.
I heard it in church last week.
It was part of the sermon.
Yeah.
They have a chance here. They can get themselves in gear, and we won't have an issue.
God hates the Cardinals, and he loves the Bishops.
Curveball that time.
All right, let's talk a little bit of relief pitching because there's been too many relief curveballs thrown this year. What their earned run average is horrible. Look at this, 5. ERA, if I could do that, listen, I'm on safe turf here. I could do right now what Logan Andrusic is doing. I go up there, I'm almost as tall as he is, and I can throw gopher balls. I can do this. I know I can.
I hate to point this out as a crutch. I hate to, but you got to look at injuries. You got to look at the guys who are still getting back in the swing of things. You got to look at the guys whose arm strength isn't up yet. You got to look at Jonathan Broxton. You got to look at Aroldis Chapman, who has been promising some of the time out there.
Do I have to look at Jonathan Broxton?
You don't have to, but
Good.
you need to watch his pitches at least.
I've seen him in the clubhouse.
You have to look at that because the averaging, again, the relief pitchers that we have on the team have proven in the past, and particularly Sam LeCure, who's been the rock of that bullpen.
Yeah.
It's got to come up. I mean, Sean Marshall is not this kind of pitcher. He'll come around. It's those injuries.
I mean, I watched Marshall this year. I mean, some of these games you ought to put the glove on the other hand and try to pitch it right-handed. I mean, it's just I don't see what you're seeing here, dude. I'm sitting here looking at a team that's 6 games out of first place. They can't hit. They can't hit in the clutch, and the Brewers are, playing over their heads. So it's your boy's fault. It's Brian Price's fault. Your boy.
And he can call him my boy. That's fine. And he knows these pitchers better than anybody. He worked with them for years before this point. Yeah. And you could argue that maybe he's had a little less time with them, but I can promise you he's seeing everything. He's seeing the mechanics that are going wrong. He's seeing where the arm strength is slipping. It's only a matter of time before, just like against the Nationals on Wednesday, he gets into that bullpen and says, it does the Vince Lombardi speech and gets them into gear to figure it out and finds a strategy to make it work.
I like him. I think he's a smart guy. There's no question about it. He kind of reminds me like my uncle. When you were a kid, you had an uncle. Uncle was like, a little bit older than your dad, and he had like gray hair, a little gray salt and pepper hair. And the uncle is kind of like nice, but all of a sudden, the uncle comes in, dad's not there, and you're screwing up, and the uncle grabs you by the ear and says, "What are you doing?" Slaps you upside the head with a skillet. That's what I like about Brian Price. I think he's like my uncle.
He needs to find a skillet. I'm not sure where you can get that in a clubhouse.
A lot of skillet. But I mean, it's got to be a lot better. Look at this.
That was a knuckleball. That one was tough to catch.
Really? Tough to catch. I think Andrusic threw it.
It might have been him. The relief pitching is a problem, and the promising thing is that there are starters that are still doing the work, and they're in there for the long haul. There are guys that are going 7 and 8 innings 3 and 4 times a week, and that's promising to me.
Let me ask you a question. You look like a guy that works out. You look like you're in the gym all the time, right? Probably your sport of choice is handball, racquetball, something like that.
Handball, you nailed it on the head.
Okay, handball. So will you play handball? And there's a season, I'm sure, for handball. Okay. At the end of your season, do you not play handball for like 4 months? Because that's what happens in baseball. These dudes go away October 1st, and they all say the same thing when I see them in spring training. I didn't touch a baseball for 2.5 months. How can you do that and remain in shape? Latos hasn't thrown a ball all year, and I'm convinced it's because he didn't do anything in the offseason.
You can compare it to other sports all you want. I mean, football is unrealistic. You're not hitting guys year-round. There's a certain routine you get into, even when playing handball. We don't practice in the summer. It's just too hot.
Not.
But there's a certain routine you need to get into. And again, I'm going to point to that injuries are not in the realm of control when you go through your warm-up through the year. And Latos fell victim to that. It's unfortunate, it's unlucky, it's untimely. 12 guys.
Hasn't thrown a pitch.
12 guys in the DL. You can't do anything about that.
How can you not
regardless
throw a pitch
of routine?
All year? This guy hasn't thrown a pitch since the Pirates series here back in September of last year. How can you go through spring training, get hurt on the first day of spring training, not throw a pitch until the middle of the season? How does that happen?
Check out Johnny Cueto. And he had the same situation happen. Regardless of Latos's return to the mound,
yes,
he is coming back soon, and we don't know how he's going to play. We don't know what it's going to look like, and we don't know even where he's going to fit early on.
Rotation's been pretty good, though.
It has. Alfredo Simon
has
been one of the key contributors to even getting to 20 wins thus far this year.
Fettuccini'd 6 teams.
That's
so
right.
Yeah.
And you got to wonder about his possum-making abilities, and should we continue to tap into that versus a hobbling Latos in
Here's the problem with Simon.
May.
Here's the problem with Simon. He's thrown over 100 innings once in the last 6 years. Okay, so last year I think he threw like 60 innings. Year before that, 87 innings, something like that. Now this guy is approaching 70 innings right now. So his arm's going to fall off in another week. I think it could happen. I think you might just be walking downtown one day and see him, and like his arm just falls into like a sewer. It could happen. But he's, what is he, 6-2? Okay, you're going to roll him. You're going to roll him out there and say, go pitch 200 innings.
I hate to use a Cardinal as an example, but Adam Wainwright, whose
arm fell off too.
Whose arm fell off, but he has found a way to work around that now after his surgery. And now that he's returned to the mound, he's a very solid ace. And I think Simon, with the right coach, Brian Price, ding, 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 can find that strategy.
You're the voice of reason here, aren't you?
I doubt that.
The voice of calm.
Because
I'm ready to panic. I'm ready to just jump off a ship
I'm
here.
trying to be optimistic. We are not the Chicago Cubs.
No.
We are not the Houston Astros.
We're also not the Yankees.
And the Yankees, you could argue that they're not doing as well as they should either. Should be doing better though.
Right. So you think everything's going to be okay? I want to believe this. You see, PJ, I want to believe that everything's going to be okay because I'm a glass half full guy. But I just haven't seen enough here in the first 40-some-odd games to make me believe that the last 120 are going to be anything.
The talent is there. You get speeches like Wednesday. You get guys returning to the roster. Again, I have to stress that number, 12 guys in the DL. There are not many major league teams that are dealing with the guys at the high-profile level that the Reds are suffering injuries from around the league. It's just unheard of right now. And you know what's a promising fact, too, is this is one of the lowest scoring years in baseball since 1972.
You mean runs?
Yeah, as far as runs and on-base percentage. Lowest scoring year, 1973, excuse me. And you know what they did the year after 1973? They
welcomed in 74?
The New Year's celebration. They welcomed in the designated hitter position in the American League. So, should there be a DH in the NL?
Oh, yeah, sure. So we get Roger Bernardina in a game every night.
Well, you got catchers. Three solid hitting, well-headed catchers that you could have step into the DH position. We've got Brian Pena playing first base. I mean, he can step into the DH position for a few days here and there and make it work. And that was a nice changeup that time. It was.
You know, there's a third element to this, and let's thank God for that. Okay, because if it was just you and me, you know, this thing would be in the Ohio River
we'd be
drowning
sunk
at this
by
point.
now. A couple of branches.
We have someone that's going to join us right now who's our man on the street, our bon vivant, someone who lives and breathes Reds baseball, someone who rolls out of bed in the morning and when he burps, Pete Rose comes out of his mouth.
Sliding head first.
Absolutely. His name is Mr. Satin, who has been loose on the streets in and around Great American Ballpark and woefully, I might add, overdressed for the weather we're experiencing now in the greater Cincinnati area. Here now, Mr. Satin.
Hey, what's happening? This is Mr. Satin right here from the Fifth Mascot in front of the Great American Ballpark. We're gonna take a glance around, talk to a few fans, see what kind of trouble we can get into. Who would win in a fight between Hulk Hogan like 1983 or J.J. Hoover right now?
Oh, Hulk Hogan all the way.
Duh, right? That's what I'm saying. So who would win in a battle royale right there on the pitcher's mound? Ludwig, we got him in there. We throw him in there, and let's get like Jim Tarbell in the ring.
Well,
but hold on. Tarbell's got a gun, right? but it's like roulette. He's got one bullet. You don't know which one it is, right?
Yeah. So I'd go with Tarbell.
But let's say Tarbell, let's say he's missing an arm though.
Right, he's still got one arm. So, I mean, all he's got to do is just use that one arm, pull out his gun.
But Ludwig's been playing like spinny bat, right? And he's mad. He's coming at him like a tiger, man.
Okay, and Tarbell is awake. I mean, you know, I'd still go with Tarbell, I think.
Who wins in a fight between the Incredible Hulk and Votto? Now, hang on before you answer. The Incredible Hulk has like a bum arm. It's in a sling. Yeah. Hold on. Before you answer, Votto has a chainsaw.
He is Canadian. A chainsaw is very fitting.
Exactly. What do you think?
I'll take.
Hold on. Before you answer, the Incredible Hulk appears to have a limp.
I mean, I was taking the chainsaw Votto after you said it, so
Good man, good man, good man.
limp or not, he wins.
All right, let's send out the new guy, Billy Hamilton. We're going to send him out. But you know what? We're going to send him out against Steve Urkel. All right? Here's the thing, though. Steve Urkel, it's Steve Urkel as a little kid. But here's the thing. Billy Hamilton cannot use his legs. What do you think?
Well, Urkel's a lover, not a fighter. So he's going to feel bad every time he hits him. Like, did I do that? You know, Billy's, everybody talks about his legs, but he's pretty fast all around. He's got the ninja moves.
Yeah, he does.
And have you seen, he's got pretty nice teeth, too. Probably bite his legs off.
Go Reds! Go Reds!
Go Reds.
Go Reds!
Mr. Satin joins us here. I have one question. Where did you find these people? What
were,
rocks were they under when you found them?
We had to do some digging.
Yeah.
But we found some pretty good people down there. Had some entertaining things to say.
You ever seen Jim Tarbo with a gun?
Not yet, but
it could happen.
It could happen.
It could happen.
I would run faster than Billy Hamilton away from that.
Can you imagine a guy that looks like Cosmo Topper Google him coming after you with a gun?
I think I'd feel safe. I think if I'm around the stadium, walking around Cincinnati, and Tarbo's got a gun.
You feel pretty good.
I'm gonna get on his good side. We're gonna hang out. And,
Not sure how the Reds organization would feel about that, but
Tarbo got a gun. So you heard what we were talking about. I mean the bullpen is like for crap.
They are terrible.
Okay, so how do you fix it, man?
Well,
how
do you fix it?
What do you do, man?
Oh,
Loa
my
and
goodness.
Brusick doesn't belong on this team. You ought to be walking over the gutters.
Well, there's no way we should be the worst ERA leading relief team in the league. This is that was the least of our problems. I thought we had a pretty good pen coming in. Those guys just are stinking up. They're terrible. And then you guys, you're talking about Latos coming back. Guys been there's no way. You put him in there. I don't know.
On the bright side,
No way.
relief pitchers only pitch
See, this is Susie Sunshine.
2 or 3 innings a game. So the majority of your staff can get it in gear and leave them behind if
Here's
need
the problem.
be. If need
Here's
be.
the problem. You got one guy in that bullpen you can trust, other than Chapman, and it's LeCure. One guy.
Sure.
One guy. 2, Simon. We already said Simon's arm's going to fall off here. in a week.
Yeah.
Okay. And 3, your second best pitcher in Latos hasn't thrown a pitch all year. Cueto blew up the other day. It had to happen. He's going to blow up some other times this year. So when he blows up, your second best pitcher isn't out there. What do you do? I mean, what do you do at that point?
We don't have a farm team either. We don't have pitchers down there. So.
That's true. It's a struggling minor league, but again, you got to look at the spin of when Latos comes back. Simon's inevitably going to go back to the bullpen. There's no other way to work around that with Cingrani healthy, and that can give you some leeway on those blowups.
That will help.
It
I
gives
agree.
you 2 or 3 innings.
That will help.
Especially since he's already worked out his arm to a good level. You rest him for a week or 2,
Right.
and you get him back into the swing as a long reliever.
Which brings us to the topic, what would Dusty do?
Wow.
Now let's say Dusty's here, okay? Let's say Dusty's got a gun, okay?
I'd run faster away
And
from
he's
that.
here, and he's got Latos on the shelf, and he's got Alfredo Simon pushing 70 innings when he's only thrown max of 87 the last 2 or 3 years. What would Dusty do? He'd run Simon out there 5 days.
6. Dusty, I'm sorry, but Dusty is an arm killer. I growing up, what happened to Pryor? What happened to Kerry Wood? It's just, we talked
Aaron
about
Moran.
it earlier. They might be dead. I don't know, but
I think they're
this
still
guy Dusty, all he does is just ruin arms. I mean, I guess now maybe he's ruining vegetables. That's what I'm hearing. The word on the street.
In hopes to start the Dusty Baker Vegetable Company for his profit's sake. I hope not. But
I hope the carrot doesn't have a right arm.
yeah, but it's possible that you'll end up ruining both. So, no, but if Dusty was here, this would be a completely different situation. Tony Cingrani wouldn't see the light of day. He'd send him back down to the minor leagues. He'd go with his guns, the guys he's trusted, the guys he's been with. And you're right, Alfredo Simon would be out there 7 days a week, 90 pitches at least. And come September, there'd be some difficulty in call-ups because you don't get guys that get different experience and a well-molded team at that point because you're sticking to your guns.
I have another what would Dusty do. Chapman just came back, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
If he was, I think if Chapman wasn't available to Dusty had run out J.J. Hoover every single night. There's another guy, J.J. Hoover, Logan Ondrusek, Christiani, all these guys. Who are these guys?
You think Dusty, I know Dusty would have had a wheel that would have had every relief pitcher's face on it. And when
Dusty.
Chapman went down and Broxton, and that's how it would have been decided.
I don't even think it would have gotten to a wheel. I don't think he would have left the dugout. He was just waving, just keep going. I mean, you could even say that the only pitcher to get out there is just Cueto the whole time. Every inning, just send him out there. It's terrible.
When
you don't want to
when
see
you're
that
running
stuff.
around with those people that you found, because I'm guessing you hung out with most of them when you were out
sure,
there. I mean,
sure.
they're all saying the same thing.
Every single one of them.
Every one of them.
Oh yeah.
Consensus.
I think there's rumors about trading. I mean,
Trading who?
all of them. Take every single relief pitcher and just see if we can ship this to this team.
A box of
and
light
then we'll
bulbs is
just
what you're doing.
There you go.
Right.
Energy efficient. They give those
Box
out
of
for free
light
now.
It's like it's like making a sandwich, right?
Right.
You got all this stuff,
Yeah.
and you scoop it up.
Yeah.
You flip it over. You
Right.
get both of them hot.
Right.
Panini.
Right. You package it up.
Yeah.
Put a logo on there.
Yeah.
And then you ship it to this other place. Somebody else can eat that garbage.
What the hell is he talking about?
A very delicious sandwich.
Right.
Making me hungry.
Let's
actually.
talk about your boy Corky Miller down in Louisville. I love Corky Miller. Everybody loves Corky Miller. He can't hit. You would probably hit better than Corky Miller at AAA, but yet he has just become the all-time at-bats and games leader for your Louisville Bats.
We need cake for this situation. This
Corky
is a
looks
historic
like he
moment.
likes cake.
This is a historic
That's a
moment
man's man.
for the
Corky's,
AAA
what do they have him up there,
affiliate.
205?
I think I
Corky's
saw
like
him.
That's generous.
250.
I think I saw him in Over the Top. You guys remember that movie, the arm wrestling movie?
Oh yeah, he was one of the guys that got beat by Sylvester, right?
Right, but I
Yeah,
think he had the
you're
big oil can, like he was drinking the oil can.
Oh.
And got up there and.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's the grit.
Right,
It's
right.
that grit.
Let's talk. Could Corky Miller help this team, and in what way, shape, or form? What
Mis-
could he do besides just clog up the base paths?
Mr. Corky
If he ever
Miller.
got on base.
Mr. Corky Miller is an extremely intelligent baseball
Oh, yes,
player,
yes.
and you have to respect that. And not that any of the gentlemen on the Cincinnati Reds 25 are of less than average intelligence, but Mr. Corky Miller has long since been an excellent locker room influence, and I am petitioning the Cincinnati Reds because we love Corky so much to bring him back up. The DH that we mentioned earlier, should that happen, that would open the gates for Mr. Miller to pop in as
up.
a fourth catcher.
Pop up. Pop in.
To deep left field, and he doesn't have to produce on the field because who else is producing on the field? Zach Kozar?
Play Corky at
Sandwich.
short. See what happens.
Ship the sandwich.
Anytime
not
Corky
work.
Miller, I love Corky Miller. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's an engaging guy. But anytime they say Corky Miller has been recalled from AAA Louisville, you know this thing is going right in the dumper. You know it is.
Corky is one of the few folks who, when he does hit, it matters. And there were several instances last year when we needed him that he came through, a couple of doubles, couple of singles. When the guy knows the situation, he's wise enough to assess it and slap it where it needs to be.
He brings excitement too. I mean, he's like Billy Hamilton. He may not. He's not totally there.
The
yet.
mustache.
It's the mustache. He looks great in a towel in the locker room. I imagine. I imagine he's a beast in there. I think
Like a
there's all kind-
sauna.
Yeah.
Like a sauna.
Like
I'll
a
move over
sauna.
here. Towel in a locker room? Get
Yeah,
your
why
hand.
not? Come on.
No,
There's a
no.
nice looking towel in there.
Here's an
towel.
advantage-
Maybe towel
Hey,
off.
man, I'm wearing pink, but,
Here's an advantage to someone like Corky. He doesn't make that much. He's a modest player. Yeah, he's in his yesteryear, if you will. But he is not asking that much money. And you got a load of guys on this roster who have clogged up this team for the next 5-6 years. And with that fastball, that's something that needs to be addressed shortcoming here, because we are going to be in a lot of trouble. Especially this is the year. I mean, it's this year and it's next year, but then they keep saying it's the year after that. When is it going to really come to a head?
Here's the deal. Homer Bailey, they just paid Homer Bailey $106 million over the next 6 years. I don't mind the $106 million. You're giving a guy that throws the ball for a living a 6-year deal. That's nuts. I'm sorry. I don't care how young he is now and how young he's going to be at the end of the deal. You tell me one pitcher that goes 6 years that doesn't blow his arm or his elbow out, his shoulder or his elbow. Within 6 years, it's almost like cash money that a pitcher is going to do that. So, $106 million to him, $250 million to Joey, $56 million to Bruce. Phillips is making $72 million, and that's why they got a bunch of guys around him that can't hit. They can't afford him.
Now, Homer is a lightning guy, and they paid him because he has the ability every time he steps on that mound to shut him out. to throw a no-hitter, and he showed that.
He also has the ability every time he steps on the mound to give up 7 runs.
And you pay for that. The baseball, and especially next year when the new TV deal kicks in, there's even more money invested in these teams. So baseball right now, and all the props to Walt Jocketty for making sure he locked up someone like Homer ahead of time. Baseball is becoming a sport that you have to fork over cash for someone who you can get really good results from. Not somebody who's consistently. Bronson Arroyo, God rest his soul, he's not dead. He's in the Diamondbacks.
He's just in Arizona,
He's just
where
in
everyone is
Arizona,
dead.
you know,
Unconfirmed.
4.4 ERA, we're
Unconfirmed
not
at the
sure.
moment.
Rattlesnake bite possibility. He was.
Would you suck the venom out if he was?
If it was out of his leg,
Okay,
yes,
all right.
because it's a necessary part of his
Right.
rotation, I think, or his wind.
On his deadbed? Yeah.
You got a guy like that who doesn't make that much money, who performs consistently, yeah, sure, but that means your offense has to perform consistently. So why not stack your team in a way where you get a guy like Homer who can go out there and you don't need any offense?
I'll make a prediction for you. I'm going to make a prediction right here. Within the next year, they will trade either Homer Bailey or Johnny Cueto, because they got to get that offense jacked up, and the only pieces they have to trade are starting pitching pieces. It'll be Bailey or it'll be Cueto.
Tell us what you think about that on Twitter. Hashtag Fifth Mascot, FIFTHMASCOT. What's this year or next year? What do we have in the works for trades? Because it seems like whenever the Reds hit the trade deadline, you just never know.
They have nothing, as Mr. Satin said here, they have nothing in their minor league system that would approach an everyday player that could come in here and play within the next 2 years. They do have starting pitching, Nick Travieso, they do have Robert Stevenson bubbling below the major league level. I predict that they're going to make a trade, and the trade will be either Cueto or Bailey, and it'll happen at the winter baseball meetings this year.
And I think they'll give this team a little bit more of a chance. The injuries are something you just can't predict. One more run at it, one more year.
I love your
One more
optimism.
year with those guys,
got
and we'll get there.
And you'll be out next week with the Vox Populi, right?
Yeah, let's go find them. I'll see you guys down there at the stadium.
Vivaciously, no less.
And you can find us again next Thursday at 2, right here and only on WCPO.com. It's the Fifth Mascot. Tell your friends about us.